2026. This time I'll call the meeting to order. And we'll start with the regular agenda. Mr. Roby, you want to introduce us into what's going to happen here tonight?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a unique kind of work session that council has, and we have been doing them about every 2 years. And just as a friendly reminder to all of you at the table that you are all in charge. And so I'll just kind of talk through how we've done council goals in the past, and just know that that can change how you set the goals, the longevity, what types of goals are set, how you want to circle back on those. That is all up to your discretion. There is no statute that requires goals be set. This is an exercise that city councils in the past have undertaken to set high-level priorities, look at specific projects or efforts that the council wants to focus on. They can be short-term, they can be very long-term, they can be very detailed, they can be more high-level. So I'll just talk through some of the goals that council had set back in 2024 as a guide for staff. And then we can talk about, again, there's no decisions being made tonight, so this is council's opportunity to discuss some possible new goals for the next, whether it's biennium or whatever you want to do. Biennium is good because 1 year goes awfully quickly. There's some logic to maybe going a little bit longer than that if you want with some goals, more of a strategic vision, 3 to 5 years. But the question is for tonight, and if you need more time to discuss, we can certainly have other work sessions. The goal of this eventually is to bring back a set of goals that are objective, that are measurable, that are meaningful, and that you can adopt. We'll bring them back to a future meeting, council will adopt them, and that gives staff some direction on specific efforts. I will say that we already have documents such as budgets and the comprehensive plan, parks plan, the transportation plan, or the pavement management plan that already give direction, not only to the council, but also to staff, just which direction to march in and how quickly to march. But the goals can set some more specific things or items that are either not covered in the comprehensive plan or that council wants to focus on. So the goals that have been set in the past have been categories based upon areas of the comprehensive plan. Looking at 3 long-term goals. So individual goals should fall into one or more of the long-term goal buckets: fiscal responsibility, customer service, and planning for the future. And then we look at focus areas, so goals that could deal with land use, infrastructure, transportation, parks, recreation, and open space. And then strategies: volunteerism, philanthropy, partnerships, official controls, capital improvement plans, economic development, housing, and parks and trails. And again, these are drawn out of the comprehensive plan. The goals are a way for the city council to comprehensive plan is a huge document with lots of different directions to potentially go. Let's set some specific goals based upon the comprehensive plan and the vision outlined there to set some specific efforts in place.
What I thought I would do, Joe, is I'll kind of introduce each of these goals, and then maybe we can talk about where we've gone with those in the last 2 years, and we kind of kick around some ideas of where we're going to go in the future one. I think, and I want Joe to touch on this a little, maybe you did, 2 years ago, our goals were, we had about 12, didn't we not?
4 years ago, I think we had 12, and then 2 years ago, we carved that down to 8.
Which I thought was a good plan. So kind of simplify things a little bit. So the first goal that we established 2 years ago was to evaluate acquisition of electrical service territory within the city limits, corporate limits, and areas identified on the maps. So I think it might help if we kind of had an idea of where our boundaries are. We don't have a map of that today, do we?
I don't, but
That's okay.
I can certainly pull one up at any point here.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Can
Why
you
don't
fill
you-
that goal out a little bit more?
That's what I was gonna ask Mr. Roby to kind of help us with.
Yes, so, and the reason I wanted this esteemed panel here is that in between chewing and everything, swallowing bacon, add some flavor to this as well. So this is an area that Foster has worked on a lot over the last few years in particular. So this goal came out of, we have our corporate limits, which is city limits. And by statute, we have a right to serve with electricity all the customers within the boundaries of the municipal city limits, because we have our own electric utility. We do not right now serve all the customers within city limits. There are customers who use electricity within city limits. It's not our electricity. Specifically on the northern end of town, Cambria area, rest stop along 169, and some of the area off of Doppy Lane. In city limits, pay city taxes, use city water and sewer, but they're on Minnesota Valley Electric Co-op's electric service. And it has been that way for a long, long time prior to those areas being annexed into the city limits.
And how about the area going up the hill past St. Anne Cemetery, the newer addition up there? Is that
Portions of it are on city electric and portions are not. So the further north you get, the closer you are to the broader Minnesota Valley Electric territory. And so again, when those areas were annexed into the city limits, they remained with Minnesota Valley Electric's
I'd like to see a map of,
utility.
sorry.
No. you can go ahead.
So why do we, if it's within our rights to sell electricity to them, why don't we?
So this was the point, the purpose of the goal was to look at the potential of acquisition. So you can't just go to the customers and say, okay, now you're going to be with us. Because Minnesota Valley has this territory right now, we have to acquire it from them, which means we have to make them an offer to purchase it.
I thought we owned it.
No. It is,
They have the right to do what you want.
yes, we have the right to provide it to them, but we don't get it for
Not
free.
means to do it.
Yes, we just don't get it for free. We have to pay something to acquire it. And so,
this isn't a negotiation with the customer, it's a negotiation with the other electrical company.
So there's a little bit of, our city is MVAC electrical territory service area,
yes. Correct.
not
We haven't done that.
long-standing old.
Yes, and the most substantial customer, we have some residential customers on there, but the most substantial one is Cambria. So Cambria does not use City of Sueur Electric. They use Minnesota Valley Electric. They buy all of their power through Minnesota Valley Electric, and they have since before Cambria was constructed. That site has been served. So the city has the right to pursue that because they're within city limits. But it isn't easy, and it is a negotiation between the city and Minnesota Valley Electric. And usually what those deals look like is the city would make an offer to purchase that, and that purchase can either be cash upfront, it can be a certain dollar amount called a mill rate over time. So for every kilowatt hour that Minnesota Valley would have sold to a customer, we would have to pay that portion of that back. So we would start selling electricity to customer A right now, but then for the next, say, negotiated, but 20 years, we would pay to Minnesota Valley Electric a portion of that lost revenue. So we would recoup them for the lost revenue.
For 20 years.
It could be as long as 20 years, could
Whatever
possibly,
you negotiate.
yeah.
What if you can't make an acceptable offer to them? They don't have to sell.
No.
So that right is not really a right.
Right, we have the right to pursue it. We have the right to we have a right to provide it, but not without
not unless they say so.
making a proper offer.
Can't steal.
Yes,
And with Cambria, there's not only business challenges, but there's kind of some political challenges. Knowing that they employ a lot of people in our community, they've done a lot of things for our community, and, so there's some delicacy we gotta handle that with too.
yes, so, the city also does provide a number of electricity to a number of customers outside the city limits, as we talked about briefly before. And so there's just this kind of one section of the city on the northern edge up by 169 that we haven't. And again, we can pursue that, but depending on how challenging negotiations are, it might not be worth the city's time if you end up paying a very high mill rate to acquire that territory. It might take 50 years to start to cash flow. And that's certainly something that the city can look at. And it is something that we've looked at, but it would take, right now, we have some estimates from conversations that we've had with the city attorney. And it would probably take upwards of 40 years to start to pay back, to start to generate real revenue for the city.
You're talking about a section of, we always talk about Cambria, but what about BP Motors, Wolf Motors, Technopac, all the people, they're all this, they come up,
And all the land that EDA just sold to Cambria.
that's all in co-op.
Yes. Now, I believe it's Wolf Motors, Wolf Motors. I can't remember if they're with us or not.
I think that's Minnesota Valley.
I believe it's Minnesota Valley as well.
So that new property or that property that EDA just sold, is that, would that have Sueur electricity or MVC?
NBC.
Wouldn't that be a good time to taking it back, taking it under the city?
I think just giving some context back over the last 8 years, I mean, that was essentially our mission 8 years ago, was to acquire it so that we have it before anything happened with that property.
Yeah,
Because once it gets developed, then there's a higher cost to it.
because then we did some development there, didn't we?
Well, I mean, the property's been sold now.
And we did some development on that property before that sold.
Yeah, not to the extent though that it drastically changes the.
Putting in streets and electric and
Right, but the infrastructure for MVC isn't drastic there on that property.
but we didn't, all in all, we didn't take the property or the ability.
Yeah, we haven't had that opportunity. I mean, just hasn't come to fruition
Was this a subject all brought up during the negotiations?
with EDA.
Yes.
So with the recent sale to the EDA, is that an opportunity again to have Sueur?
Now that it's owned, it creates a bigger challenge owned by Cambria. Yeah.
They sold it.
Would it be possible too, get back to my other question is, all those people that are in it, and the smaller ones, the Wolf, the people that are not as big as Cambria, the payback might be less than what Cambria would be, so why don't we just negotiate for those people? I don't toppers as well as two either.
Yeah.
And negotiate, and also our residents. Probably have our top rate.
Yeah, so what the work so far under this goal has accomplished is truly has evaluated the potential, and the evaluation has us on the point now where we really have two areas of consideration. One is Cambria and one is everything but Cambria. And yes, the long-term financial outcome on both is very, very different, because I don't know that we know exactly how much electricity Cambria uses, but it could be as much as the rest of the city combined.
Yeah.
So it's sizable, and it would be,
Could our grid handle that?
what's it?
Could our grid handle that?
That's a good question. So any acquisition, it would depend on the type of acquisition we would need, but, you know, Buster, going to talk about just from infrastructure standpoint, not exactly what we would need, but in certain cases, we might look at acquiring some of Minnesota Valley's infrastructure as well, transformers, substations, things like that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
potentially be looking at purchasing, whatever substation they have, but then depending on what their infrastructure looks like and what their needs are, you may have to put in a duplicate substation and then either more overhead or underground utilities as well. But then, like, when we're looking at purchasing equipment, or when we're looking at purchasing territory, we're looking at the customers that are currently there, potential future customers, and then we're also looking at the current infrastructure they have in place, which are most likely the overhead power lines and the substations. So that's where that can get pricey.
There's substations and overhead power lines and everything on city property.
Yes, we do currently have substations and overhead.
Whatever they're using in Minnesota Valley. However, they're supplying power, are there substations on city property?
No,
Not substations, but
No.
transformers and overhead and underground to serve the property, but no. If you go out on, what is it, the end of, where St. Thomas Road meets Myrick? Is that it? There's a large, it's called the St. Thomas substation.
Yeah.
I think it's at the top of where Myrick meets County Road 28. And it's a Minnesota Valley Electric substation. That is the closest adjacent, right by the Tyrone Town Hall. That is, I think, the closest adjacent substation. So depending on how much territory the city wanted to acquire, if we needed to, we would need to look at the age of that substation. If we could just acquire it, tie it into our system.
and then manage that into the city.
Correct.
But well, I guess we don't have to annex it into the city because we already have rural electric, so we just have to tie it into our system.
Right. And so part of the offer that the city makes to Minnesota Valley Electric accounts for all the infrastructure we would need to provide to those customers. And if we need to acquire any of theirs, and which in any case we would, because even if it's just power lines and poles and transformers, we would need to acquire that. But then there's things in substations, which can be several $1 million for a new substation. And again, then we would need to see how that serves the rest of our customers. If it would be a benefit, because it could be a redundant substation to serve some of our other customers. Or if we need to move it, and again, like Foster made a great point, where do we think future customers are going to be? Because it's not only the electric load that you're buying for right now, it's infrastructure that you would need to have in place for the future for additional customers.
Does a co-op, we're spending a lot of time on this, but does a co-op also do a rest area?
We have the rest area. City will serve provides
Oh,
electricity to the rest area.
I guess it's-
I believe the cutoff is right, even on the southern edge of Cambria.
Yeah, it kind of goes around Cambria and then it kind of shifts around it on up, but Cambria is still in Minnesota Valley Electric. I have the map in front of me, but
So what happens?
So the backside of Cambria, whatever, 28.
Highway, highway.
Can you tell me where that's saved, Foster, and I can pull it up?
yep, it is Public Services Electric Reports. It's gonna be. You've been there. Public Services Electric Reports 2020 or 2024 Rule 7610 submission.
All right,
There's no.
I think I got it.
Reports.
Okay. And then electric. Wait, electric and then
Yep,
reports.
electric reports,
We at ABC.
and then 2024.
Rule 76
Yep,
then.
Rule 7610.
Submission.
Submission, yep.
Yeah, that is very.
So all of this time, while you owned, me, had this property that was across the highway on the north side. this never came up as a, where it's time to do something, now would be the time.
It did.
The city didn't technically own it, the EDA did.
Already then,
Yeah, EDA,
but at some point, the city owned it, didn't
no,
they?
EDA's always had ownership of it, that's always been the lease or EDA.
Well, I thought they acquired that one.
EDA got a loan through the city to buy that from, was it,
The sewer development,
The
Inc.,
development team.
LSDI.
what's that?
That development.
Yeah,
was sort of
yeah, I
like-
can't remember what it was called. But it's always been the EDA since it switched over from lease or development, Inc.
So the city's, well, never put it in for terms or anything.
I would say, it's fair to say that it's been a point of discussion and a consideration, but it's,
I'm just wondering, have we, it sounds like we missed our window. And it'll cost millions to get it back.
possibly, but it's also, I would say the EDA also had to carefully consider that it was selling the land to Cambria, who is already a customer of Minnesota Valley Electric. And so those negotiations between the
Which
EDA and
is what it is
Cambria.
right now, it's Minnesota Valley Electric.
Okay,
Right.
Correct, yeah.
Before they bought it. So if we would have switched that before the sale, they could have had the sale.
It would have. Yes,
They never would have-
they wouldn't have bought.
they never would have
Why
bought
is that?
it. It's separate
They want us
companies.
to have their electric billing.
Do you have, there is some relationship probably between MVAC and Cambria that works to Cambria's favor, that they don't feel that.
We would have a benefit.
Yeah.
It would benefit them at all.
and there was a discussion, I don't know if it happened at council meetings, but I do know it happened on the sideline maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago, before my time, between Cambria and the city about annexation, electric service territory, and Cambria's expectation that when they were annexed into the city, which allowed them less expensive access to water and wastewater, that they would be able to maintain their Minnesota Valley Electric. And so that's where, like in the negotiation, in theory, there's a price at which the city could purchase that territory and acquire it. But while we don't know the rates at which Minnesota Valley is selling electricity to Cambria right now, we can presume they're low enough that the city would need to offer an even lower price, which then extends the payoff period. And the idea would be to be able to acquire the service territory without a huge upfront cash infusion into a project that would pay itself off within a relatively short period of time, so we could start recognizing those gains as a business. But it would have been, that gets to be a really, I mean,
Let me ask you this, is Minnesota Valley Electric owned by Cambria, the Davis company?
It's a co-op,
It's a co-op.
so people want it. And you can't ask for what the, you can't ask for the rates of what they're buying for to negotiate your lower rates. That's why Excel Energy and other power companies like Avant Electric and belong to MMPA, they're not allowed to know each other's business because there's that's a word for it now. It's a competitive thing. You can't get the other person's knowing what they're selling. So you don't know. But Joe had just said, we don't know what the rates are, so it's Cambria, because we'll never know. They're not gonna tell you. They're not allowed to tell you.
Well, power company isn't.
They can't, it's competitors, so there's no.
And it sounds like it's a window that shut.
I'd say the window isn't shut. It's always been a difficult window to try to go through, a very difficult window to go through. In terms of the vacant property, in terms of the existing property, again, when we
looked at this internally, there is probably a lower hanging fruit, which is the residences and a couple of businesses on Doffy Lane who are, for all intents and purposes, just like any other user within the city.
Does it benefit the city that much to have more people using our electric? And what's the gain?
I can't recall off the top of my head what I don't even know if there was a full evaluation because I don't know that we even know what the rates are other than anecdotally that residential customers are paying. I mean, in the long run, assuming the city's going to own and maintain its electric utility, presumably after even 10 years, the electric utility is going to start generating a profit off of those customers after you paid the mill rate to supply and back with their lost revenue. And that price presumably is lower for a residential customer. And we don't know, but I suspect that it's probably not real cost efficient for MVEC to provide electric service to some of those customers because they're in our territory and kind of on the periphery. So if you look on the map here.
So how did they put power lines in and everything else if it's in our territory?
Because when it was put in, it wasn't in our territory.
Right.
It wasn't annexed.
We didn't annex the city until
We've been expanding forward into their territory.
2005. We annexed all the way down to where Gilson Station
Want a
is.
better map? Check your email.
It was never part of the city. Once he's talking about Happy Lane and all these things, that were not part of the city.
I had texted you.
So we annexed
Oh, you did?
all of
We
that.
annexed that one in
And
169.
then we started putting power lines out there. What did we do?
Well, I think before we annexed, it was MV,
Yeah.
the co-op. So all those things were up.
That was
So when
all
we
there.
annexed it,
So we
didn't.
haven't spent any money developing it with our own power lines and everything else.
We are gonna move on to our next school pretty quick, but we're gonna end this first school with electrical territories.
We still need to continue this going forward because any expansion we do of the city limits, we're gonna either encroach into Benco or Minnesota Valley Electric. And we just need to figure out how we can acquire the territories that's going to expand.
I ask one real quick question before we move on. Is any of these residents asking to be put onto our electric?
Not to my knowledge, no.
In closing, Joe, on this one, in the last 2 years, is there any, or Foster, you could answer, is there any territories that have changed at all in the last 2 years as far as electrical? I don't
No,
think
there has not been.
Okay, so this is a goal we can continue to explore and to council members Schluter's credit, as the expansion moves with our community, it's something we gotta give a lot of serious accreditation to. So, okay. I wouldn't mind moving on to goal number 2, exploring the development of the stormwater management plan. Mr. Roby, you wanna?
I'm going to defer immediately to Mr. Transberg with one quick comment because I always have to make a comment. This has been a great success, and this was one of those goals that it was an effort that City Council recognized the importance of undertaking. It's taken a long time to get there, and we're almost at the finish line. But it's been something that's needed in this town for a long, long time, and with that, I'll talk about.
Sure.
Before Foster starts, what year did we start this stormwater management plan?
2024.
You know,
It was shortly after I started the new position.
Yeah, so late 23.
Yeah.
Late 23.
For that, Foster, do you want to give us a little update on that?
Sure. So we're nearing the finish line of this. We actually received some grant funding to create a comprehensive stormwater plan, and with the overall goal to come up with 10 potential projects to complete at the, what the top 10 projects do we need to complete at the end of the process. And so it's been a big undertaking. One to really look at things as a whole and not just understanding like we've had in the past, but looking at things like from an open lens and physically going out, you know, understanding how many ponds we have throughout the city, private and public, understanding how our infrastructure works or doesn't work, where things are working great, where things are not working good. And then put all that data together and come up with a complete comprehensive stormwater management plan. So something that we're actually planning to meet tomorrow, and the overall plan, I think, to meet at a council level in June. And we'll be meeting Bolton Mink, and the city staff will be talking about the plan overall, and then potential, you know, what we see, you know, what the needs are for the future of the city. Now, this kind of goes without being said, but it's been a real undertaking because we started this project in 2023. Well, we've had some big projects along the way. We did the North Forest, or the street recon project there from Bridge Street all the way up to the north, up to Dakota there, Cathcart. So it's been a large undertaking to understand, you know, we don't have the plan all put together, but we've been putting a lot of thought into what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we can incorporate that information into the final plan, but also make sure we're doing what's right along the way. Along with the work we did on Zion, in that stormwater there on 7th Street, Zion, looking at Ridge Road, Catalina Court, installing that storm sewer there as well. Trying to really put things into thought so that, you know, even though we don't have a plan completed, that we are thinking things through and looking at things from, you know, like a bird's eye view, and making sure that we're making good sense of what we're doing.
That Zion project, that was a complete, I mean, it failed, did it not? I mean, it collapsed. Is that why we replaced that one at Zion, or is that just regular maintenance we were doing?
So that one there was failing. There was failing infrastructure that was put in with like field tile, corrugated metal pipe. There was failures there. You know, we dug it up multiple times where it collapsed. There was we were fixing repairs that had been made with old street signs and baling wire and whatever was put together. So
Was it even engineered when they put it in currently?
I would doubt it was. But I think if you look at the old maps, there was a pond that was there, and so basically they put that pond underground, and there was really, I don't think there was a lot of thinking when they, I mean, there probably was, I don't want to discredit anybody, but there was, you know, there was, you know, it's just, however they could do it at the time, that's how they did it, but we put a lot of thought into there, and we continue to put thought when we look at future reconstruction projects, when we look at, you know, what we could potentially do, and where that water can go, because you know, where it currently goes, well, a majority of the city does run from the south, or, you know, southwest, and runs kind of northeast out of the city. And, you know, is that the right way for it to go, or can we look at things from a different lens and run it through a different pond system out to the river or whatever? So,
And these projects, I'm sorry, these projects we just finished, they'd have been a real challenge had we not had this plan in place.
yeah, we don't have it in place, but we're putting a lot of thought into it as we go along. Does that make sense to you?
Well, the money was there with the stormwater. Is that what you used to pay for a lot of these projects?
So the money that's been in the capital, and the CIP for stormwater has gone towards this, and we're gonna, as Foster mentioned, we're gonna get reimbursed for that. I think what Foster was referencing is that the challenge we have is we want to put together a plan, but we also have to keep moving with other projects. And so we take what we learn with those projects to incorporate that data into the plans. We're not doing duplicative work. So those projects have been really valuable to the overall plan, but those are big projects too.
Yes.
One comment I want to make on this. I think this should be part of our comprehensive plan. And our comprehensive plan is coming up on its 10-year anniversary. And on that 10-year anniversary date, we will be eligible for grant funding to incorporate new things into the plan, including wastewater or stormwater management systems. So in October, we will be able to apply for grants to get this implemented.
I've seen in the budget reports that a lot of money is going to the stormwater, whatever element we're at with that. So project, that doesn't even pay for the projects, that's all for the plan, was my understanding. So how much money have we spent on this so far since its inception?
While you're looking that up, can I make a comment? So Foster, as you develop your plan, will you work into that plan, the work that's been already done, like on Main Street and 4th Street, and develop criteria within that plan that spells out how those projects fit in with your stormwater plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we're also looking at it from a even more of an outside lens. So as we develop out into the rural sections of the city, how we can incorporate our current system with that and making sure that we put in large enough piping, or we have consideration for ponds or whatever we need to do. And then the other thing is, as the city grows, and I can't think of what it's called, but when a city is 10,000 people or more and you live by the river, and I can't think of what the
Environmental protection.
MS4.
MS4. So you need an MS4 permit when you're 10,000 people or above, and you live next to a river, or the city is next to a river, and so there's protections you have to put in place. And so that's another thing that I want to make sure that we incorporate into this plan. So eventually, when we get to that point, we have some idea of where we need to be. When we did the South Main Street project, 36 project, we incorporated some sump manholes, what they're called, where they actually have areas where the water goes in the manhole and allow the sedimentation to settle out, and we can clean those out so that it doesn't make its way directly to the river.
So you're pre-planning
Yes.
in anticipation for growth.
Correct.
So rather than having that, oh my gosh, we hit 10,000, now we have to put 4 billion into sediment
Right.
dealing.
I'm not going to guarantee you that we're not going to have put in some money, but we're trying to put it into the planning. And then we're all, the point's planning on doing a mill and overlay on North Main Street from Bridge Street up to approximately Cathcart there in 2027. And so that is the other thing, is that we want to make sure that we incorporate any changes in the storm sewer that we find between basically the high part is the high part of the city is North Main or North 4th Street. So from there on to the west, we want to make sure we can incorporate the crossings there, so we can upgrade the storm sewer in North Main Street to try to solve any issues that we have when we reconstruct the roads, to the east between Main Street and 4th Street.
So do you have a realistic timeline for developing this plan?
So the plan, we plan to have the plan in place, or we plan to bring it to city council in June, July timeframe this year.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're nearing completion.
Anybody else?
Doing a quick math, I can get you a number on that.
Well, I know last time I think I asked about that because I was like, well, where's this plan, this wastewater plan? And you said, well, it's not, I thought they were going to change it all. Put in all the storm sewers for that, and I know that was just for the plan, so.
Mr. Cransworth,
Yeah.
looking forward to hearing more about this come June or July. So, thank you. I'd like to move on to goal number 3, if we could. And that is pursue funding for opportunities for the city park improvements and the expansions. Mr. Rowe, you have anybody here from the park department to represent that? That'll be you.
Yeah, Foster can speak to it too. We, in the most, so here's what we know. We have a lot of parks in town. Out of the comprehensive plan, city council directed the completion of a parks, open spaces and trails master plan, post plan, that RPAC kind of uses as their guiding document, where to invest in parks, how to invest in recreation, because that post plan did a lot of different things. One of the things it did is it looked at all of our existing parks
where they are in the community, and then scored them based upon usability, age, accessibility, features, all that stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of our parks got really, really low scores. I think the dog park got a really high score, which I think from just anecdotal evidence, everyone seems to love the dog park. The Sueur Trail Park got pretty high scores, but that's also our newest park. Which in the city, I assumed it was a private park. Mr. Graff's a private park.
I've never seen the kids go out there.
Really?
I used to take my kids there all the time.
That's why it's so good.
Yes. But Mayo Park, River Park, Legion Park, Joe Eagle, Anderson Park, Bruce Frank Field, which is technically a separate park in the post plan, all got relatively low marks based upon their age and accessibility. And so our PAC, as the one committee that's dedicated to Parks and Recreation, has taken that and said, okay, what can we do to make improvements specifically at those parks? And sometimes it's through park adoption, sometimes it's through getting donations for new things at the parks. Or it's when a Boy Scout comes to us and says, hey, I want to do a project involving something, where can I put it? We say, okay, you can do a goggle ball pit, and that could go here. We'll carve out space for it, or a workout area that can go down at Mayo Park, or disc golf that Owen Bryson's gonna do, I think, this year at Mayo Park. And the other thing is, because when you were all here during the capital conversations and budget last year, and it's hard to find dollars for even things like the police department, and everyone loves the police department, and even our core infrastructure, like non-police infrastructure, streets, those dollars can be hard to come by when you're looking at capital budget and levy. And so parks, unfortunately, they're on the capital list. They never even make it through the vetting process to the point where we bring them to the personnel budget committee, because from a priority standpoint, it's hard, understandably, for a city council to pull money from the biggest parts of core governmental operations, public safety, streets, and put it into Parks and Recreation. So that's why the goal is on here. We have a post plan that says this is where we should try to make investments in the parks. Let's try to get money, outside money, for those park improvements. So again, every year we get a lot of support from the Lions Club, from the Rotary Club, from volunteers in the community who do a phenomenal job helping out at our parks, pull weeds, clean things up. But when we want to do bigger projects, that's where we go up after outside funding. And so the most recent example of this was the DNR grants. So we started applying for DNR grants for Mayo and Legion Park in 2023. And we used the post plan as the template for the first application. And the DNR said, not creative enough. We get where you're going with here, but it's not novel enough. So you're not getting any money. And so went back in 2024 and then again in 2025. So this goal, I think, is valuable, because we know in a well-rounded community that everyone needs good recreation. Every good community has solid recreation that is accessible to the community. And it's a challenge to prioritize that in council spending on other things. And so that's where these seeking outside dollars, investment like the DNR grant, which does still require some city investment, no doubt, but at a much lower scale than is otherwise possible. So the DNR grant is the most recent and significant example of city staff pursuing something in the interest of raising outside funds.
Got a suggestion going forward. Over the last couple of years, we really haven't referenced back to our goals that often in meetings. I think we should address them maybe once or twice a year, just so we know where we're at. Plus, things like that park project, the DNR grant, I think we should also mention right in the agenda on the agenda that this is part of one of our goals.
Excuse me, is that where the splash pad and the other parts of that park improvement? Because I don't remember talking about that. I remember the ice rink,
Yes.
but I just,
Yep, so the visual, and I think the newspaper, the Henderson Independent, pulled a snapshot out of the post plan when they did an article on the DNR grant, and it kind of extrapolated beyond what the DNR grant is, which is specific to accessibility and trail system and augmentation of the shelter area, and then this new recreation offering, which is the purchase of these panels to put down as synthetic ice. And the post plan goes well beyond that, and it is created a vision for the entirety of Legion Park.
and that's what the newspaper went with, was this vision, future vision.
Yes,
And that's what they talked about,
yes,
newspaper.
because it said, and I don't know if they wrote about it specifically, but the picture's there, and it shows the splash pad, it shows the Ninja Warrior course, it shows.
Yeah, that was what the Ninja Warrior course.
Yes, and so that was this vision that as part of the post plan, there was a lot of public input and the public's and, you know, parks experts, and they came in and said, here's the space you have, here's what you could do with it to make it super duper amazing. And so how the first DNR grant was for the civic lawn, the great civic lawn, which was going to re-envision where the Veterans Memorial was, create a trail with a big circle in the middle that would be for events and a band shell. And it would have been really, really neat. But it still would have cost a lot of money. And the DNR said, no, you need something more recreation focused and accessibility focused. And so that's where RPAC came in, and RPAC, the idea to RPAC and said this, based upon looking at other plans for grants that were awarded. But yes, so there's no plan for a Ninja Warrior course, there's no plan for a splash pad. All those things would be really cool, but focuses on one section of grant.
So the staff met this goal. However, we aren't about to shut it down.
I'm sorry, can you speak up?
Correct.
I missed that. Could you speak up?
The staff met this goal.
Okay.
And we, with the budget, shut it down. Okay. Kind of where it's at this moment in time.
Yes, I would. Yes, that's the goal that we pursued. We were successful in that.
Yes.
We
So the staff met it.
got the money. And where we're at with that is we are still awaiting a grant agreement from the DNR.
From that.
And council can go from there. So we'll bring that to council when it comes through.
We'll re-examine that then.
Correct.
So kudos to the staff for giving you the goal.
Good point. Thank you. With that, I think I'd like to move on to goal number 4, explore the development of a multi-year environmental sustainability plan. Mr. Roby, that's a lot of big words.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that sounds rather overwhelming.
So it can be, and we've done a bit of discovery on this, and a lot of cities are adopting sustainability plans, and the extent to which council wants to keep this as a goal, I think there's real value to it. It can be what we've learned through the process of exploring this is it can be as simple, even though it's not simple, but it can be as small as looking at sustainability for all city buildings. How is the city, as it operates, with its vehicles, with its footprint, is it behaving as sustainably as possible? And how do you get from the footprint that we have, the environmental footprint that the city operates in right now, to a more sustainable one? It can also look much more broadly at the city, at the entire community, into establishing programs to, beyond what we even offer right now through rebates and energy efficiency, to providing areas of town for bigger community gardens with spaces for green energy pop-ups to installation of EV charging stations strategically throughout the community, which is something that we've worked on with MMPA for a number of years now, and for several different reasons, it's just fallen flat. But so this, again, it can start small and it can grow much larger depending on the direction the council wants to go in. I will say that we've taken this and done some real things with it. And Fox, we're going to just talk about the ICS project that you did.
Sure. We applied for a grant with Region 9, and we worked on, it's a facilities energy utilization and condition assessment report. And we looked at City Hall, PD, Community Center, the Parks Building, and the Public Works Building. And we looked at everything from each one of the rooms. We looked at the doors. We looked at the how they're heated and cooled. We looked at the age. We looked at the roofs, and there was a condition report that was given us at the end. And we've dug through it some, but we still haven't got through a lot of it. But basically all fingers are kind of pointing definitively at the park shop is met its time, and it's starting to fall apart. And without a lot of money being put into that parks building or the public works building, they're really starting to fail. From a safety standpoint, there's a lot of equipment needs to be purchased. There are huge capital items that need to be sourced some way, somehow, and then also, I believe, police department. I know you have a little more in depth on that. Do you have any? Something you want to talk about there?
Well, just how the condition of the building and just how we've outgrown it, obviously, as well. But that beyond that, we can always adjust, but just several issues that have came up now with just the condition of the building and how it can affect officers' health. So that's something that we'll just have to figure out.
You're kind of recommending some type of building that can be used for public safety and for the street department.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
and then we just found out last week that we have some water issues in the PD, and we don't know what extent it is, but I think we believe there's mold there, and there's going to be we don't know how long it's been there. We don't know so we'll know more here in the next few days, but we're going to undergo some kind of a construction project there to at least mitigate and rehabilitate that. But yeah, what they were suggesting, or what I'm suggesting, in my opinion, would be to create a goal to look for a facility or build a facility that would house potentially the PD and the public works, which is it's getting to be a thing these days. I see like Rosemont, North Mankato. There's a lot of cities that are doing that.
And we have been able to, we have the chance or the opportunity to receive a grant that we applied for last year that is over $1 million. So that's, now $1 million is nothing, but we do know that we do have that money available to us as we go through the process, and that's through federal grants.
So if we explored some other resources that are out there and were to take a score on those, does the city have the property? Where would a person put a place?
We looked at different places, and it would be potentially either build or expand, or there's a nice property that would be perfect for both public works and the police department. And I can't remember the name of it right now. What is it?
On South Elmwood. It's a
Used to be like a
It
paper
takes two.
micro store. Yes.
So when you're talking environmental sustainability, exactly, the plan isn't developed as to defining that exactly.
Correct. So
Okay.
that's, and this is something that Councilmember Schleger and I had talked about before the last goal setting 2 years ago about, and this again, because a lot of cities are doing this from a space utilization and efficiency standpoint, from a cost of doing business standpoint, and from being a good steward of the community and the environment. So that's where the goal came out of. And just real quick before I forget to mention it, to do a sustainability plan for the city, whether we just do city operations or we start there, it's probably a $20,000 effort. Now, there are some grants available that we can go after, but it's not a plan that we put together ourselves. We bring in a consultant and they look at it and they say, what do you want to focus on? And for that discussion, I would like the city council to have input on that to determine the scale of that effort.
Yeah, I guess when I read this, my thoughts were some of that utility work you've done is environmental sustainability. Putting our electrical underground is environmental sustainability. So defining that and having a plan would probably be helpful to ultimately get to that goal that they're talking about, the
Yeah.
specific plan, part of the plan.
And it doesn't just tie into the buildings and the infrastructure, but any new developments we have, anything new that we're doing, we need to incorporate this into everything we do.
Right. So the idea of having a sustainability plan is then when you go to do a road reconstruction project, not only do you reference the post plan, the comp plan, and the transportation plan, but you also reference the sustainability plan and you use some of the goals and strategies there to guide how you do a reconstruction project or a new housing development.
So the part where the building the city uses for like where they store all their sand and salt and all that stuff, is that the building you're talking about?
Yeah, so the Parks building is the one that's where the
Car
salt
washes.
is stored right there, kind of next to the cabinet shop.
Yeah.
Across from the cemetery there,
Mhm.
and then adjacent to the cemetery is the public works.
Did we just build that building or did we expand on that building a few years back?
You might be confusing that with the county building.
Oh, yeah, the
Yes.
county building. Okay, that's what I'm
The
thinking.
county building looks nice and sturdy.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
That's a good building.
Both of those buildings are old Green Giant buildings that were, and I can't seem to find any plans when we're working with the ICS to put together this plan, this project here. I could not find any plans for the buildings. And looking at aerial maps, they were built sometime between 1960 and 1980. I don't know. This is no.
We built it without a
They don't
permit?
apply for a permit.
Are we gonna find them?
I have no idea.
Yes, Justin will get right.
Way back then they did.
There's a lot of weird things over in that entire 4th Street area that, where
Vine Street.
Vine Street, it's, yes, the old Green Giant area, which is almost a city into itself. And so, yeah, the Peck Street building, both Peck Street buildings, are old Green Giant structures that have both outlived their useful life and now have outlived their safeful life, safety, thank you, their safety lives. And we recognize just in conversations between the PD and public services that there are efficiencies to be gained by not necessarily just expanding the police department or recreating the police department space into a correctly sized space and a safe space, but also by adding some square footage, you can house the public works operation as well, and recognize the efficiencies there.
And they could coexist together.
I can, yes, we'll try.
We're kind of dreaming a little bit here. What would happen with the old building? Is there anything the city could use that for?
Well, not the public works building, but that's, sorry,
Public Works.
I'm speaking, but not that.
I would say definitively the Parks building would.
Does it have any value?
I don't think so.
The
Because
land.
we would,
Yeah.
and Justin's not here, but I would say it would be difficult to get a building permit with the existing structure, with the life safety issues, with the parks building certainly, and with this street shop as well.
Fire department practice on big building.
Yeah, I mean, and
Right
they,
now.
it's a good footprint in an industrial zoned area or industrial adjacent. So, you know, the
The
long term, I can
cemetery
see.
wants to expand.
Possibly.
Police department.
The police department been here in 2010. 2010.
And it was prior to fire hall. And
Yes.
Food show.
So the food shop,
Food show.
fire department, then the food shop, and then the police department.
Anything else regarding goal number 4? I want to try to keep us on track here. We got about 28 minutes, so let's move on to goal number 5 on evaluating the city's emergency action plan and provide an updated document to the city council for adoption.
So this is an ongoing goal, and I would like to keep this on here. It's one of the things that I would eventually like to work with the chief on, that neither of our schedules, probably most of mine, haven't allowed, is working specifically on the city's emergency action plan. So Justin Nielsen is our emergency manager. I would say that as we've worked through this and specific scenarios on this, that real life scenarios have been probably more enlightening than anything in this way. So whether it's utilization of space or communication protocols, or where the I want to say recombobulation. That's a real word, but the reunification sites are in town. Chiefs spend a lot of time working with the public schools, especially with the construction of the new elementary. That has become a priority, identifying safe places there. Now that we have all kids in the district at one location. So this is still a work in progress, but from an operational standpoint, we have a much better handle on how we manage in emergency situations, whether it's communication, site utilization. But the formal document is not yet ready for city council consideration.
Very good. Anybody else have anything else for that? If not, we'll move on to goal number 6. That's to conduct a comprehensive review of the update of the city of Sueur personnel policy. Mr. Roby, I got a bunch of full. Well, Stacy.
Hi. Go ahead, Joe.
So the personnel policy has seen a number of revisions over the last, since we adopted this goal. Most of them, as with, you'll see with goal 7, are not really driven so much by the city, so much as they are by the state and federal regulations. So we've been pivoting left and right on these as the state and the feds have changed personnel requirements and hiring requirements and various leaves and benefits that we provide. So every time we get a little bit close to our comprehensive overview, then we have to pivot to something else. So whether this stays ultimately as a goal or not, this is something that we will continue to work forward. And if the feds and state give us enough time in between major updates, we'll bring back an overall version of the personnel policy. We do consult with the city attorney on various elements of the policy as we run into things that maybe need to be adjusted or reinterpreted. Anything else you want to add to that, Steve?
No, I think you covered it. A lot of it's just mandates, and most of the changes that you're going to see are templates that the league recommends, right? It's nothing major that we're changing a policy and how we specifically handle things here. A lot of it is just adjusting. It hasn't had an overall update in a very long time. So there's outdated terms, things like that to bring it up. Just do a better working document.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? All right, let's move on to 7, if you don't mind. Conduct the city council review of the police department's policy. That sounds pretty serious.
It always is, sir. So the same as Mr. Roby mentioned, our policies are based on mandates and obviously statutes. So we do have lexical that many cities use, and the League of Minnesota City also recommends that we use a base like that. And that keeps us updated, or it keeps us, we will get notices when the laws change and if we didn't get it before. And also with the accreditation that we're going through right now, the accreditation will also guide us through on how to fix those policies if we need to. If there is anything that needs to change from day to day or specific to something, then we do directives or memos that we're changing. So it's an ongoing thing, but we're pretty well established. We received that lexical policy book or program. I think they had it in 2022, and nothing had really been changed or adjusted. So it has been a big undertaking to make sure that we're up to date. And there were things that really didn't fit with a small department or what we had. So there were a few adjustments that we had to do. So that took a lot. But I feel like we're in a very comfortable place right now. We're up to date, but we will continue to update as law changes. And as the accreditation, it's like more of a fine tuning of where we're at as an agency. So I don't know if you need to have it there as a goal, but it will continue to evolve as we go.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Very good. Thank you for your report. I lost my place with goal, and we're on 7. We're going to 8 already. Wow, that went quick. Okay, but the last goal we're going to cover, and then we can hopefully everybody's taking notes. We can cover some of these again when we meet again, whenever that might be, to arrange a joint meeting with the Sueur Henderson School District and to align community goals and communication. I think this is a very important one, especially after the year we had with the sale of the old Park Elementary, which has not gone through yet, of course, but there's a lot of challenges ahead with that. And it's, I don't want to say it's kind of corroding the relationship a little, but the relationship is still good. But I think we need to find some time to meet with them this year and reassure them that we're here to work with them. Mr. Ruby, do you have any updates on that?
No, I'll be working with Superintendent Wagner to set up a joint meeting between the council and the board. The school board seems amenable to having the meeting on the night that we already have a council meeting, so that they would take an extra meeting night and you all could just be here a little bit longer one night, which that was nice. So we're just gonna find sometime in the next month and a half, a city council, so it's like a city council meeting night where we'll just maybe have a shorter business meeting and then they'll join us down here for the duration. And I will say that, you know, the strategic meetings or the bigger meetings between the board and the council are absolutely valuable, no question. We do at a staff level, it is weekly, if not sometimes daily, that we are talking, whether it's public safety, strategy for emergency planning, or it's utilities, or it's strategizing on future land use. Those conversations are ongoing, but it's still valuable to get the groups together.
Do you remember the last time we met? You were city administrator last week. Has it been over 2 years?
No.
Or did we meet 2025?
When the,
2024
was it 2024?
was the last time we met.
Okay. I thought it was last year.
I don't believe we did that last year.
I think that's an important goal we got to zero in on, is to keep the public relation and communication open with our school district. And we'll set up a meeting very soon with that, and hopefully circle back with kind of reviewing some of this, these goals we just talked about tonight. Anybody else have anything else?
I just have just a comment on goal number 8. I do think just because of all the different committees and stuff that are out there, that the city council should have a liaison on the school board, just so we can keep that communication open.
Sure. It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. I think that's something we should talk to Mr. Wagner about. And if we can
Yeah.
service that request, I think that's a good idea.
I'll talk to Jim.
Thank you. And we'll be looking for somebody to do that.
I nominate Wendy.
Well, I've been to several, board meetings, I don't have a
Thank you.
problem with it.
Thank you. Thank you. With that said, we're gonna start our council meeting at 6:30. I want to start that on time, but you look like you have something you want to add, Mr. Roby.
I do, Mr. Mayor, if that's
Yes.
okay.
You've got some time.
Just since we've talked about all these existing goals, and I think generally I've got a pretty good feel, and I'm looking at the directors, we've got a pretty good feel on just where the vibrations of the room around the current goals and whether we carry some forward or modify them going forward. I would like to talk just a little bit about additional goals or future goals, if there's anything council members have.
Or blending goals.
Yes, and I mean, certainly we have some things that updated comprehensive plan. Actually, Foster mentioned it this morning, and I said, well, guess what? Foster, you and Councilmember Schluter are on the same page. So looking at the comprehensive plan more holistically, it's been brought up at Planning Commission a couple of times now, so that's something that I anticipate the Planning Commission. So if the City Council wants to have a goal for the next 2 years for the Planning Commission to conduct a full review of the comprehensive plan, bring it to council, or whatever that looks like, we will be eligible for grant funding to support that, to bring in someone to, so staff can just keep doing their day-to-day stuff. I know Region 9 does it, League of Minnesota Cities does it, to provide someone to look at the comprehensive plan holistically and provide recommended updates.
Is that just an addendum to the comprehensive plan that you put in for stormwater?
So like stormwater would just be an addendum, yes, like the coastal plan is an addendum to the comprehensive plan. But it would be looking at everything from strategies to the vision statement, seeing how things have gone in the last 10 years, whether we want to.
And maybe Cranley did want to speak to us before October, and she really wants us to apply for some funds to get this put into the comp plan.
Is there a wording you have to have, and so that when you do the grants, you go backwards, say, hey, this is where our plan is on stormwater or whatever. Am I making myself clear?
I don't think so.
Okay, so you say we need to have something addendum for stormwater in the comprehensive plan to go for grants, correct?
We can get a grant to get it added to the
Oh,
comprehensive plan.
okay.
To do it
Now I understand, Scott.
Yes.
Thank you.
Like the planning commission can look at the comprehensive plan and recommend changes, but it's helpful if we have a third party come in and look at it from the outside. Because we see it all day long, every day. Someone can come in and say, well, what about this? Have you done this? And you'd say, oh, well, we tried it, but it didn't really work. And they can say, well, what if you change the comp plan this way? So we can get a grant to cover the cost of that. So
Excellent.
So are we part of the Met Council's comprehensive plan? We're not a part of anybody's council. The county doesn't have
the
one.
county, we are part of the county's comprehensive plan, but not Met Council.
And so does that get included in our comprehensive plan, what their goals are? Or is it a duplication of work?
No, it's not a duplication of work because the county's comprehensive plan looks at,
Broader.
yes, it's much broader. And what I will say is that what the county has done with their comprehensive plan overhaul, which they're going to be adopting here sometime in the next month, I think, or two.
And I'll be mentioning that after the
Yes.
meeting. They've got a public hearing on Tuesday, the 17th at 10 a.m. on the comp plan.
Yes. So what they did is they reached out to some of the cities in the county who do have comp plan and said, hey, show us your comp plan so we can evaluate it against our thoughts. And they were very sensitive, I would say, to what we already had in our comprehensive plan when considering their future plan. So they can allow cities to grow in the way that cities want to be able to grow.
And this expert that you would have come in and help with ours would know what their plan is as well, that they're gonna just adopt.
Yes. It would be a reference document as part of that, particularly when we look at extraterritorial growth.
So you're gonna make that a goal for this group?
Number 9.
involved with the comp. I think you eliminate some here in this group.
I think updating the comprehensive plan is a really good, healthy goal to have. So that would be one suggestion.
Especially since funds are gonna be available in October for us.
I agree with that.
Anything else?
Along those lines, something we've talked about is orderly annexation. So we don't have any annexation agreements with townships, which can be complicated or can be really simple. And it's just a way of setting the stage for future annexations of township property into city limits. So historically, the way the city has done annexation is they have a conversation with the property owner. Property owner says, yeah, I guess I'd like to be in city limits for any number of reasons. And the city says, hey, township, this person wants to come into the city. And the township says, okay. And we file the paperwork, council adopts it, boom, they're in the city limits.
Did the township lose that property tax thing?
Yes, if they do. And some of our surrounding townships don't have township taxes. So Ottawa does not have township taxes. I think Tyrone does and Sharon does. I'm not certain, but I believe Ottawa does not. So what some cities will do is establish orderly annexation agreements or similar kind of memos of understanding with townships saying, if we get to this point, what are you township going to ask? How is the city going to handle it? How's this dance going to play out? Instead of just, well, let's see what happens when a property comes up. So as part of a comprehensive plan overhaul, that would be beneficial, especially as the county's got their comp plan updated now or will be soon. We know where we're probably growing because we do have our own extraterritorial map that says this area is likely going to be residential, this area is likely going to be commercial, but it's not city limits yet.
Well, if you do that, I would like to recommend that you do the Blue Supplies the electricity at that.
Yes, that will certainly be part of the, and I was going to mention that earlier, that would be part of any annexation conversations. The public safety and public works facility conversation is a real one that we need to have, and we would like city council to have. And what exactly that goal looks like, I think having staff bring some plan forward to city council for what that might look like. If it's a shared facility, if it's an option of recreating a public workspace and expanding the police department here, whatever the most efficient use of taxpayer dollars would be. But again, the police department had physical and structural challenges and use challenges before 2 weeks ago, and now some of the things that have come to light in the last couple of weeks with water intrusion have made it a much more pressing issue. The public works conversation is something that staff have had for a number of years now, probably over a decade. Probably since the day after the city took ownership of Green Giant buildings, honestly, and realized, wait a second, these aren't very good. And that was 40, 50 years ago now. So and because we know we have some dollars that we can target to defray some of the direct city costs, that's a goal that we would like city council to consider.
So how is this gonna affect City Hall with this water damage?
We don't know that yet. We don't know. But a lot of the discovery of this just happened a few hours ago, so.
I was here when it happened.
And it is on the Second Street walls.
Okay.
So like the entire wall. And
So you'll define that goal, because that's really specific, but to me, that's the end game, is that we find, location for them, so to speak.
Yes, so the goal that I generally have in mind would be that the city council would like to evaluate options for relocating the police department and public works. And those options then that we could present to city council could be 3 different things.
with different price points
Right.
that we bring forward.
But to me, it would fit under the sustainability goal. That you wouldn't need to develop a new goal, that it could fit under that goal.
In that category.
Yes, that's also yeah, that's true with the, and I can't remember now if the sustainability goal has budgetary or fiscal responsibility. It doesn't right now. So like goal number 4 right now is not under fiscal responsibility or customer service. But customer service certainly, and also fiscal responsibility would be added to that, so that it's more.
Yeah,
I know exactly. what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, like the goal to me, it is fiscally,
Yes,
yeah. Okay. I'm just thinking the way you're talking 3 more goals, and I had identified we only took 2 off, so now we're adding more goals. And we
Yep.
wanted to, so
Mhm.
I'm just trying to make it fit.
Yep.
Because to me, that's a specific end game where a sustainability goals is broad.
And
You
so-
fit that under.
yes, and maybe what we could do is, when we draft this, is look at something like goal 4
Define that better.
and define it better, explore this to include evaluation of current city footprint.
And is there any way that the county, somebody said their buildings are good for the city workshops or city shops, to do something with them, share that space?
Yeah, and that's something that, I don't know if we've had that conversation, but that's certainly a conversation we can have. We thought, and this was right when I was coming on board, there was a thought that we were going to be able to move public works out onto Elmwood Street into one of the MinDOT facilities, because MinDOT was gonna abandon that.
Well, they're there all the time.
We were gonna have this, because they were gonna build a new facility
Oh,
in St. Peter, I believe it was on the north side of St. Peter. And then we were going to then move into that space, which would be perfect for public works. And then that plan fell through, and MinDOT said, no, we're good. So,
you see them coming
Maybe
up all
they'll
the
say
time.
they're moving again.
yes, so that's, I think the last time we asked was a year ago, and they said, no, we're not building, we're staying.
Just thought that was worth
So yes, if any of those options are on the table, we would present them.
Anything else, Mr. Wilby? With that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this work session.
So it's
All in favor?